Welcome back. Woo. We're going over secret history today. I have not read a single page of this. And what we're going to do is just a live read of the first chapter. There's cool artwork in this. Live read of the first chapter because apparently the first chapter is good. I like how short this book is. Sometimes I really like a short book. Brandon Sanderson, I feel like, doesn't know how to write short books, but apparently not, because this is only a few chapters, like 5 chapters, 6, no, 8, but they're short chapters, 9 chapters with an epilogue, but they're short. I don't know what's going to go on in this, but apparently chapter 1 is good, because that's the one that people recommended I live read. So I'll probably publish this right after I record it, which is on a Friday morning. So let me know if I should live read any of these other chapters. I don't really have any guesses as to what's happening in this. This looks like Kelsier. And let's theorize on this. This looks like Kelsier, and it looks like he is attempting to... He's walking up to people who are about to shoot him. Wait. Huh? This lady has a gun. Maybe I'm totally off. Did Mistborn, the whole trilogy, the original Era 1, have anything about anybody having a firearm? I don't know. Looks like they're in some weird little forest here, or like a cave. And it looks like he's going to steal something from these people that they're brewing. He really wants a good beer that they're making. So I don't know. I'm gonna just start reading, and then we're gonna see what this book is about. Apparently, it's like Era 1. It's a conjunction. It's in conjunction or parallel with Era 1. And it gives you just more details on it, which I'm actually kind of interested. I'm curious if we're going to learn more about Kelsier, if he actually knew like all along what the 11th metal was or something like that, or perhaps Kelsier was really dark and we never knew that, or I don't know. Because I feel like something that the other book did really well was it brought the Lord Ruler into like yes, he was evil, but he was more complex than you just think in the first book. And I'm like, maybe they're going to do the same thing with Kelsier in that we all revere him, and then they're going to kind of bring him back down to earth a little bit. So this it's not going to be that long of a read. I think it's like 20 pages, but it's quick pages. It'll probably take like 20-ish minutes, maybe 30 minutes, I'm guessing. So jump on, watch me read this for the first time, and try to figure this out. Chapter 1 of Mistborn Secret History. Kelsier burned the 11th metal. The 11th metal already. Nothing changed. He still stood in that Luthadel square facing down the Lord Ruler. A hushed audience, both Ska and Noble, watched at the perimeter. A squeaking wheel turned lazily in the wind, hanging from the side of the overturned prison wagon nearby. An inquisitor's head had been nailed to the wood of the wagon's bottom, held in place by its own spikes. Where is he? I guess he knew to behead an inquisitor? Nothing changed. Well, everything changed. For to Kelsier's eyes, 2 men now stood before him. One was immortal. One was the immortal emperor who had dominated for 1,000 years. An imposing figure with jet black hair and a chest stuck through with 2 spears that he didn't even seem to notice. Next to him stood a man with the same features but a completely different demeanor. A figure cloaked in thick furs, nose and cheeks flushed as if cold. His hair was tangled and windswept. His attitude jovial, smiling. It was the same man. Wait. I'm already so confused. So he's seeing the Lord Ruler. Wait. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, hold on. So this is when he first beheads the Lord Ruler. He stood in that Luthadel square, facing down the Lord Ruler. Watching the perimeter, a squeaking wheel turned lazily in the wind. Oh, duh. So, okay. I get this. So this is when this is literally in Mistborn. I'm an idiot. In my head, for some reason, I thought this was going to be like prior to everything that he was going through, so I didn't even realize. Okay, so the Lord Rulers come. He uses the 11th metal. And then he sees the future and then the past. How does he see both? Was the 11th metal an alloy of the hold on, I need to look this up. Okay. Hold on. I'm just gonna get this book actually. That'll be easier because I don't want any spoilers. Sometimes I feel like I'm afraid to look things up. Give me a sec. I need Hero of Ages. Okay, Hero of Ages. The back of this book where that little chart is. The 11th metal, was it... So he's seeing the future and the past. Because he's seeing the two spikes in him. So he's seeing... He's using Maladium. And... Adium? Wait, this is weird. Why is he seeing the Lord Ruler with two spikes through him? Am I missing something? Shouldn't he just see... Like, Vin never saw that. Maybe because he was going to die soon. One was... He saw two figures. Why did he see two figures? This is going to be one of those classic ones where it's answered on the next page and I'm just theorizing for nothing. Nothing changed. Well, everything changed. To Kelsier's eyes, two men now stood before him. One was the immortal emperor who had dominated for... Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm so stupid. He literally just sees... This is an embarrassing video. Okay, so I'm out of practice with these, I guess. So he just sees the Lord Ruler with two things that he stuck through him, two spears. And this is the current Lord Ruler. And then he sees the past one. So he's just using Maladium here. I just got so confused for a second. Why was I so confused at that? A completely different demeanor. Figure. Okay, duh. Sorry. That was a long foray for nothing. Let's keep reading. Sorry. Can I use this? Kelsier thought, frantic. Black ash fell lightly between them. The Lord Ruler glanced toward the Inquisitor that Kelsier had killed. Those are very hard to replace, he said, his voice imperious. That tone seemed a direct contrast to the man beside him. A vagabond, a mountain man wearing the Lord Ruler's face. This is what you really are, Kelsier thought. But that didn't help. It was only further proof that the 11th metal wasn't what Kelsier had once hoped. The metal was no magical solution for ending the Lord Ruler. He would have had to rely, instead, on his other plan. And so Kelsier smiled. I killed you once, the Lord Ruler said. You tried, Kelsier replied, his heart racing. The other plan, the secret plan. But you can't kill me, Lord Tyrant. I represent the thing that you have never been able to kill, no matter how hard you try. I am hope. The Lord Ruler snorted. He raised a casual arm. Kelsier braced himself. He could not fight against someone who is immortal. Not alive, at least. Stand tall. Give them something to remember. The Lord Ruler backhanded him. Agony hit Kelsier like a stroke of lightning. In that moment, Kelsier flared the 11th metal and caught a glimpse of something new. The Lord Ruler standing in a room. No, a cavern. Huh. The Lord Ruler stepped... Oh, this is when he takes The power at the Well of Ascension. The Lord Ruler stepped into a glowing pool, and the world shifted around him, rocks crumbling, the room twisting, everything changing. The vision vanished. Kelsier died. It turned out to be far more painful a process than he had anticipated. Are we getting a life after death? Instead of a soft fade to nothingness, as he felt an awful tearing sensation, as if he were a cloth caught between the jaws of two vicious hounds. He screamed, desperately trying to hold himself together. His will meant nothing. He was rent, ripped, and hurled into a place of endless shifting mists. He stumbled to his knees, gasping, aching. He wasn't certain what he knelt upon, as downwards seemed to just be more mist. The ground rippled like liquid and felt soft to his touch. He knelt there, enduring, feeling the pain slowly fade away. At last, he unclenched his jaw and groaned. He was alive. Kind of. He managed to look up. That same thick grayness shifted all around him. A nothingness. No, he could see shapes in it. Shadows, hills, and high in the sky, some kind of light. A tiny sun, perhaps, as seen through dense gray clouds. Kelsier breathed in and out, then growled, heaving himself to his feet. Well, he proclaimed, that was thoroughly awful. It did seem there was an afterlife, which was a pleasant discovery. Did this mean Mare was still out there somewhere? He'd always offered platitudes, talking to the others about being with her again someday. But deep down, he'd never really believed, never really thought. The end was not the end. Kelsier smiled again, this time truly excited. He turned about, and as he inspected his surroundings, the mist seemed to withdraw. No, it felt like Kelsier was solidifying, entering this place fully. The withdrawal of the mist was more like a clearing of his own mind. The mist coalesced into shapes. Those shadows he'd mistaken for hills were buildings, hazy, and formed of shifting mists. The ground beneath his feet was also mist, a deep vastness, like he was standing on the surface of an ocean. It was soft to his touch, like cloth, and even a little springy. Nearby lay the overturned prisoner wagon. But here it was made of mist. That mist shifted and moved. Kelsier wasn't the mist spirit, right? No. It was like the mist was trapped by some unseen force into a specific shape. More strikingly, the wagon's prison bars glowed on this side, complementing them. The other white-hot pinpricks of light appeared around them, dotting the landscape. Doorknobs, window latches, everything in the living world was reflected here in this place. And while most things were shadowy mist, metal instead appeared as a powerful light. Some of those lights moved. He frowned, stepping toward one. And only then did he recognize that many of the lights were people. He saw each as an intense white glow, radiating out from a human form. Metal and souls are the same thing, he observed. Who would have thought? And he got his bearings. He recognized what was happening in the living world. Thousands of lights moved, flowing away. The crowd was running from the square. A powerful light, with a tall silhouette, strode in another direction. The Lord Ruler. Kelsier tried to follow, but stumbled over something at his feet. A misty form slumped on the ground, pierced by a spear. Kelsier's own corpse. Touching it was like remembering a fond experience, familiar scents from his youth, his mother's voice, the warmth of lying on a hillside with Mare looking up at the falling ash. Those experiences faded and seemed to grow cold. One of the lights from the mass of fleeing people, it was hard to make out individuals with everyone alight, scrambled toward him. At first, he thought perhaps this person had seen his spirit, but no, they ran to his corpse and knelt. Now that she was close, he could make out details of this figure's features. Cut of mist and glowing from deep within. Ah, child, said Kelsier, I'm sorry. He reached out and cupped Vin's face as she wept over him. And found he could feel her. This makes me want to reread that chapter to see if the mists were curling around her during that moment. Or like if they were like caressing her. She was solid to his ethereal fingers. She didn't seem to be able to feel his touch, but he caught a vision of her from the real world, cheeks stained with tears. His last words to her had been harsh, hadn't they? Perhaps it was a good thing that he and Mare had never had children. A glowing figure surged from the fleeing masses and grabbed Vin. Was that Ham? Had to be, with that profile. Kelsier stood up and watched them withdraw. He had set plans in motion for them. Perhaps they would hate him for that. You let him kill you. Kelsier spun, surprised to find a person standing beside him. Not a figure made of mist, but a man in strange clothing. A thin wool coat that went down almost to his feet, and beneath it, a shirt that laced closed, with a kind of conical skirt. That was tied with a belt that had a bone-handled knife stuck through a loop. The man was short, with black hair and a prominent nose. Unlike the other people who were made of light, this man looked normal, like Kelsier. Since Kelsier was dead, did this make the man another ghost? Who are you? Kelsier demanded. This is weird so far. Oh, I think you know. The man met Kelsier's eyes. And in them, Kelsier saw eternity. A cool, calm eternity. The eternity of stones that saw generations pass, or the careless depths that didn't notice the changing of days, for light never reached them anyway. Oh, hell, Kelsier said. There's actually a god. Yes. Kelsier decked him. It was a good, clean punch thrown from the shoulder, while he brought his other arm up to block a counterstrike. Docs would be proud. God didn't dodge. Kelsier's punch took him right across the face, connecting with a satisfying thud. The punch tossed God to the ground, though when he looked up, he seemed more shocked than pained. Kelsier stepped forward. What the hell is wrong with you? You're real, and you're letting this happen? He waved toward the square where, to his horror, he saw lights winking out. The Inquisitors were attacking the crowd. I do what I can. The fallen figure seemed to distort for a moment. Bits of him expanding like mist escaping an enclosure. I do what I can. It is in motion, you see. Kelsier recoiled a step, eyes widening as God came apart and then pulled back together. Around him, other souls made the transition. Their bodies stopped glowing. Then their souls lurched into this land of mist, stumbling, falling as if ejected from their bodies. Once they arrived, Kelsier saw them in color. The same man, God, appeared near each of them. There were suddenly over a dozen versions of him, each identical, speaking to one of the dead. The version of God near Kelsier stood up and rubbed his jaw. Nobody has ever done that before. What, really? Kelsier asked. No, souls are usually too disoriented. Some do run, though. He looked to Kelsier. Kelsier made fists. God stepped back and amusingly reached for the knife at his belt. Well, Kelsier wasn't going to attack him. Not again. But he had heard the challenge in those words. Would he run? Of course not. Where would he run to? Nearby, an unfortunate Ska woman lurched into the afterlife and almost immediately faded. Her figure stretched, transforming to a white mist that was pulled toward a distant dark point. That was how it looked, at least, though the point she stretched toward wasn't a place. Not really. It was beyond. A location that was somehow distant, pointing away from him no matter where he moved. She stretched, then faded away. Other spirits in the square followed. Kelsier spun on God. What's happening? You didn't think this was the end, did you? God asked, waving toward the shadowy world. This is the in-between step. After death and before... Before what? Before the beyond, God said. So they're in purgatory. The somewhere else. I guess the purgatory is called somewhere else. Where souls must go, where yours must go. I haven't gone yet. It takes longer for allomancers, but it will happen. It is a natural progress of things, like a stream flowing toward the ocean. I'm here not to make it occur, but to comfort you as you go. I see it as a kind of duty that comes with my position. He rubbed the side of his face and gave Kelsier a glare that said what he thought of his reception. Nearby, another pair of people faded into the eternities. They seemed to accept it, stepping into the stretching nothingness with relieved, welcoming smiles. Kelsier looked at those departing souls. Mare, he whispered. She went beyond, as you will. Kelsier looked toward that point beyond, the point toward which all the dead were being drawn. He felt it, faintly, begin to tug at him as well. No, not yet. We need a plan, Kelsier said. A plan? God asked. To get me out of this, I might need your help. There is no way out of this. That's a terrible attitude, Kelsier said. We'll never get anything done if you talk like that. He looked at his arm, which was disconcertingly starting to blur, like ink on a page that had been accidentally brushed before it dried. He felt it draining. He started walking, forcing himself into a stride. He wouldn't just stand there while eternity tried to suck him away. It is natural to feel uncertain, God said, falling into step beside him. Many are anxious. Be at peace. The ones you left behind will find their own way, and you... Yes, great, Kelsier said. No time for lectures. Talk to me. Has anyone ever resisted being pulled into the beyond? No. God's form pulsed, unraveling again before and coming back together. I've told you already. Damn, Kelsier thought. He seems one step from falling apart himself. Well, you had to work with what you had. You've got to have some kind of idea what I could try, Fuzz. What did you call me? Fuzz, I've got to call you something. You could try my lord, Fuzz said with a huff. That's a terrible nickname for a crew member. Crew member? I need a team, Kelsier said, still striding through the shadowy versions of Luthadel. And as you can see, my options are limited. I'd rather have Docs, but he's got to deal with the man who's claiming to be you. Besides, the initiation to this particular team of mine is a killer. But Kelsier turned, taking the smaller man by the shoulders. Kelsier's arms were blurring further, drawn away like water being pulled into the current of an invisible stream. Look, Kelsier said quietly, urgently. You said you were here to comfort me. This is how you do it. If you're right, then nothing I do will matter now, so why not humor me? Let me have one last thrill as I face down the ultimate eventuality. Fuzz sighed. It would be better if you accepted what is happening. Kelsier held Fuzz's gaze. Time was running out. I love how the narrator is calling him Fuzz now. Kelsier held Fuzz's gaze. Time was running out. He could feel himself sliding toward oblivion. A distant point of nothingness, dark and unknowable. Still, he held that gaze. If this creature acted anything like the human he resembled, then holding his eyes with confidence, smiling, self-assured, would work. Fuzz would bend. So, Fuzz said, you're not only the first to punch me, you're also the first to try to recruit me. You're a distinctively strange man. You don't know my friends. Next to them, I'm normal. Ideas, please. He started walking up the street, moving just to be moving. Tenements loomed on either side, made of shifting mist. They looked like ghosts of buildings. Occasionally a wave, a shimmer of light would pulse through the ground and buildings, causing the mist to writhe and twist. I don't know what you expected me to tell you, Fuzz said, hustling up to walk beside him. Spirits who come to this place are drawn into the beyond. You aren't? I'm a god. A god, not just God. Noted. Well, Kelsier said, what is it about being a god that makes you immune? Everything. I can't help thinking you aren't pulling your weight on this team, Fuzz. Come on, work with me. You indicated that allomancers last longer. Ferrochemists too? Yes. People with power, Kelsier said, pointing toward the far-off spires of the Kredik Shah. This was the road that the Lord Ruler had taken, heading toward his palace. Though the Lord Ruler's carriage was now distant, Kelsier could still see his soul glowing up there somewhere, far brighter than the others. What about him? Kelsier said. You say that everyone has to bend to death, but obviously that isn't true. He's immortal. He's a special case, Fuzz said, perking up. He has ways of not dying in the first place. And if he did die, Kelsier pressed, he'd last even longer on this side than I am, right? Oh, indeed, Fuzz said. He ascended. If, just for a short time, he held enough of the power to expand his soul. Got it. Expand my soul. God wavered, figure distorting. He cocked his head. What was I saying? About how the Lord Ruler expanded his soul. That was delightful, God said. It was spectacular to watch. And now he is preserved. I am glad you didn't find a way to destroy him. Everyone else passes, but not him. It's wonderful. Wonderful, Kelsier felt like spitting. He's a tyrant, Fuzz. He's unchanging, God said, defensive. He's a brilliant specimen, so unique. I don't agree with what he does, but one can empathize with the lamb while admiring the lion, can one not? Why not stop him? If you disagree with what he does, then do something about it. Not now, God said. That would be hasty. What would removing him accomplish? It would just raise another leader who is more transient and cause chaos, even more death than the Lord Ruler had caused. Better to have stability. Yes, a constant leader. Kelsier felt himself stretching further. He'd go soon. It didn't seem his new body could sweat. If it could have, his forehead would certainly be drenched by now. Maybe you would enjoy watching another do as he did, Kelsier said, expand their soul. Impossible. The power at the Well of Ascension won't be gathered and ready for more than a year. What? Kelsier said. The Well of Ascension? He dredged through his memories, trying to remember the things that Sazid had told him of religion and belief. The scope of it threatened to overwhelm him. He'd been playing at the Rebellion and Thrones. He'd been playing at Rebellion and Thrones, focusing on religion only when he thought it might benefit his plans. All the while, this had been in the background, ignored and unnoticed. He felt like a child. Fuzz kept speaking, oblivious to Kelsier's awakening. But no, you wouldn't be able to use the well. I failed at locking him away. I knew I would. He's stronger. His essence seeps out in natural forms, solid liquid gas. Because of how he created the world, he has plans, but they are deeper than my plans. Or have I finally outthought him? Fuzz distorted again. His diatribe made little sense to Kelsier. He felt as if it was important, but it just wasn't urgent. Power is returning to the Well of Ascension, Kelsier said. Fuzz hesitated. Yes, but it's far away, far, far away. Yes, too far for you to go. Too bad. God, it turned out, was a terrible liar. Kelsier seized him, and the little man cringed. Tell me, Kelsier said. Please, I can feel myself stretching away, falling, being pulled, please. Fuzz yanked out of his grip. Kelsier's fingers, or rather his soul fingers, weren't working as well any longer. No, Fuzz said. No, it's not right. If you touched it, you might just add to his power. You will go as all others. Very well, Kelsier thought. A con, then. He let himself slump against the wall of a ghostly building. He sighed, settling down in a seated position back to the wall. All right. See there, Fuzz said. Better, much better, isn't it? Yes, Kelsier said. God seemed to relax. With discomfort, Kelsier noticed God was still leaking. Mist slipped away from his body at a few pinprick points. His creature was like a wounded beast, placidly going about its daily life while ignoring the bite marks. Remaining motionless was hard. Harder than facing down the Lord Ruler had been. Kelsier wanted to run, to scream, to scramble and move. That sensation of being drawn away was horrible. Somehow he feigned relaxation. You asked me, he said, as if very tired and having trouble forcing it out, me a question. When you first appeared. Oh, Fuzz said. Yes, you let him kill you. I had not expected that. You're God. Can't you see the future? To an extent, Fuzz said, animated. But it is cloudy, so cloudy. Too many possibilities. I did not see this among them, though it was probably there. You must tell me, why did you let him kill you? At the end, you just stood there. I couldn't have gotten away, Kelsier said. Once the Lord Ruler arrived, there was no escaping. I had to confront him. You didn't even fight. I used the 11th metal. Foolishness, God said. He started pacing. That was Ruin's influence on you. Interesting. But what was the point? I can't understand why he wanted you to have that useless metal. He perked up. And that fight? You and the Inquisitors? Yes, I've seen many things, but that was unlike any other. Impressive, though I wish you hadn't caused such destruction, Kelsier. He continued pacing, but seemed to have more of a spring to his step. Kelsier hadn't expected God to be so human, excitable, even energetic. I saw something, Kelsier said, as the Lord Ruler killed me. The person as he might have once been, his past, a version of his past. He stood at the Well of Ascension. Did you... Yes, the metal flared during the moment of transition. You got a glimpse of the spiritual realm then, his connection and his past. You were using 80s essence, unfortunately. One shouldn't trust it, even in a diluted form, except... He frowned, cocking his head as if trying to remember something he'd forgotten. Another god? Kelsier whispered, closing his eyes. You said you trapped him. He will break free eventually, it's inevitable. But the prison isn't my last gambit. It can't be. Perhaps I should just let go, Kelsier thought. Drifting. There now, God said. Farewell, Kelsier. You served him more often than you did me. Interesting. But I can respect your intentions and your remarkable ability to preserve yourself. I saw it, Kelsier whispered. A cavern high in the mountains, the Well of Ascension. Yes, Fuzz said, that's where I put it. But, Kelsier said, stretching, he moved it. Naturally. What would the Lord Ruler do with a source of such power? Hide it away? Or keep it very, very close, near to his fingertips? Hadn't Kelsier seen furs like the one he'd seen Lord Ruler wearing in his vision? He'd seen them in a room, past an Inquisitor. A building within a building, hidden in the depths of the palace. Kelsier opened his eyes. Fuzz spun toward him. What? Kelsier heaved himself to his feet and started running. There wasn't much self to him left, just a fuzzy, blurred image. The feet that he ran upon were distorted smudges, his form a pulled-out, unraveling piece of cloth. He barely found purchase upon the misty ground, and when he stumbled against the building, he pushed through it, ignoring the wall as one might a stiff breeze. So you are a runner, Fuzz said, appearing beside him. Kelsier, child, this accomplishes nothing. I suppose I should have expected nothing less from you, frantically butting against your destiny until the last moment. Kelsier barely heard the words. He focused on the run, on resisting that grip hauling him backward, into nothing. He raced to the grip of death itself. His cold fingers closed around him. Run. Concentrate. Struggle to be. The flight reminded him of another time. Climbing through a pit, arms bloodied, he would not be taken. The pulsing became his guide. That wave that washed periodically through the shadowy world. He sought its source. He barreled through the buildings, crossed thoroughfares, ignoring both metal and the souls of men, until he reached the gray mist silhouetted of the Cretic Shaw, the hill of 1,000 spires. Here Fuzz seemed to grasp what was going on. You zinc-tongued raven, the god said, moving beside him without effort while Kelsier ran away with everything he had. You're not going to reach it in time. He was running through the mist again. Walls, people, buildings faded, nothing but dark, swirling mists. But the mists had never been his enemy. With the thumping of those pulses to guide him, Kelsier strained through the swirling nothingness until a pillar of light exploded before him. It was there. He could see it, burning in the mist. He could almost touch it. Almost. He was losing it, losing himself. He could move no more. Something seized him. Please, Kelsier whispered, falling, sliding away. This is not right, Fuzz's voice. You want to see something spectacular, Kelsier whispered. Help me live. I'll show you spectacular. Fuzz wavered, and Kelsier could sense the divinity's hesitance. It was followed by a sense of purpose, like a lamp being lit, and laughter. Very well. Be preserved, Kelsier, survivor. Something shoved him forward, and Kelsier merged with the light. Moments later, he blinked, awake. He lay in the misty world, but his body, or, well, his spirit, had reformed. He lay in a pool of light like liquid metal. He could feel its warmth all around him, invigorating. He could make out a misty cavern outside the pool. It seemed to be made of natural rock, though he couldn't tell for certain because it was all mist on this side. The pulsing surged through him. The power, Fuzz said, standing beyond the light. You are now part of it, Kelsier. Yeah, Kelsier said, climbing to his feet, dripping with radiant light. I can feel it thrumming through me. You are trapped with him, Fuzz said. He seemed shallow, wan, compared to the powerful light that Kelsier stood amid. I warned you. This is a prison. Kelsier settled down, breathing in and out. I'm alive. According to a very loose definition of the word. Kelsier smiled. It'll do. Did Kelsier just become preservation in this chapter, or half of preservation? And was the voice that Spook was hearing actually Kelsier's, or was it Ruin's? Funky. Is this going to be like an afterlife companion? Oh gosh, my exposure is really high. Sorry, I can't even see. It's too bright right now. Is this going to be like an afterlife version, parallel with the series? Because that would actually be kind of fascinating. What was going on in the ethereal realm? I'm kind of into this. Oh wow, there's a lot of parts to this book. It's longer than I kind of thought. A lot of short chapters, but it says part 6, Hero. Are there just a bunch of parts? Wow. Part 5, Ire. Part 4, Journey. Part 3, Spirit. Part 2. Part 2, Well. Maybe I just read the next few pages. I'm just going to finish part 1. Because why not? Let me change my exposure. Will this work? No, I gotta change my ISO. Hold on. Everyone, hold the phone. ISO. Oh, that's why it's on auto. Screw me over with that. Beautiful. Maybe that'll be better. Oh. It's not really much better. Let me just turn it down. All right. Everything else looks dark, but I'm gonna go a little too dark. Should have done this before. All right, that's better. It is so bright in this room right now. These windows are so bright. Hold on, give me a second. All right, let's knock this out. Chapter 2, Part 1. Immortality proved to be far more frustrating than Kelsier had anticipated. Of course, he didn't know if he was truly immortal or not. He didn't have a heartbeat, which is only unnerving when he noticed it, and didn't need to breathe. But who could say if his soul aged or not in this place? In the hours following his survival, Kelsier inspected his new home. God was right, it was a prison. The pool he was in grew deep at the center point, and was filled with liquid that seemed a reflection on something more potent on the other side. Fortunately, the well was not wide. Only the very center was deeper than he was tall. He could stay around the perimeter and only be in the light up to the waist. It was thin, thinner than water, and easy to move through. You could also step out of this pool and its attached pillars of light, settling on to the rocky side. Everything in this cavern was made of mist, though the edges of the well, he seemed to see the stone better here, more fully. It appeared to have some actual color to it, as if this place were part spirit, like him. He could sit on the edges of the well, legs dangling into the light. But he tried to walk too far from the well. Misty wisps of that same power trailed him and held him back like chains. They wouldn't let him get more than a few feet from the pool. He tried, straining, pushing, dashing, and throwing himself out, but nothing worked. He always pulled up sharply once he got a few feet away. After several hours of trying to break free, Kelsier slumped onto the side of the well, feeling exhausted. Was that even the right word? He had no body and felt no traditional sign of tiredness. No headache, no strained muscles, but he was fatigued, worn out like an old banner allowed to flap in the wind through too many rainstorms. Forced to relax, he took stock of what little he could make out of his surroundings. Fuzz was gone. The god had been distracted by something a short time after Kelsier's preservation and had vanished. That left Kelsier with a cavern made of shadows, the glowing pool itself, and some pillars extending through the chamber. At the other end he saw the glow of metal bits, though he couldn't figure out what they were. This was the sum of his experience. He had just locked himself away in this little prison for eternity. It seemed an ultimate irony to him that he might have to manage to cheat death, only to find himself suffering a fate far worse. What would happen to his mind if he spent a few decades in here, a few centuries? He sat on the rim of the well and tried to distract himself by thinking about his friends. He trusted in his plans at the moment of his death, but now he saw so many holes in this plot to inspire a rebellion. What if this god didn't rise up? What if the stockpiles he'd prepared weren't enough? Even if that all worked, so much would ride upon the shoulders of some very ill-prepared men, and one remarkable young woman. Lights drew his attention. He leaped to his feet, eager for any distraction. A group of figures outlined as glowing souls had entered this room in the world of the living. There was something odd about them. Their eyes. Inquisitors. Kelsier refused to flinch, though by every instinct he dreaded these creatures. He had bested one of their champions. He would fear them no longer. Instead, he paced his confines, trying to discern what the three inquisitors were lugging toward him. Something large and heavy. But it didn't glow at all. A body. Kelsier realized. Headless. Was this the one he'd killed? Yes, it must be. Another inquisitor was reverently carrying the dead one's spikes. A whole pile of them, all placed together inside a large jar of liquid. Kelsier squinted at it, taking a single step out of his prison, trying to determine what he was seeing. Blood, Fuzz said, suddenly standing nearby. They store the spikes in blood until they can be used again. In that way, they can prevent the spikes from losing their effectiveness. Huh, Kelsier said, stepping to the side as the Inquisitors tossed the body into the well, then dropped into the head. Both evaporated. Do they do this often? Each time one of their number dies, Fuzz said. I doubt they even know what they're doing. Tossing a dead body into that pool is beyond meaningless. The Inquisitors retreated with the spikes of the fallen. Judging by their slumped forms, the 4 creatures were exhausted. My plan, Kelsier said, looking at Fuzz. How is it going? My crew should have discovered the warehouse by now. The people of the city, did it work? Are the Scot angry? Fuzz asked. The revolution, the plan, Kelsier said, stepping toward him. God shifted backwards, just getting beyond where Kelsier would be able to reach, hands going to the knife at his belt. Perhaps that punch earlier had been ill-advised. Fuzz, listen. You have to go nudge them. We'll never have a better chance of overthrowing him. The plan, Fuzz said. He unraveled for a moment before returning. Yes, there was a plan. I remember I had a plan, when I was smarter. The plan, Kelsier said, is to get the Ska to revolt. It won't matter how powerful the Lord Ruler is. Won't matter if he's immortal once we toss him in chains and lock him away. Fuzz nodded, distracted. Fuzz? He shook, glancing toward Kelsier, and the sides of his head unraveled slowly, like a fraying rug. Each thread seeping away and vanishing into nothing. He's killing me, you know. He wants me gone before the next cycle. Though, perhaps I can hold out. You hear me, Ruin? I'm not dead yet. Still here. Hell, Kelsier thought cold. God is going insane. Fuzz started pacing. I know you're listening. Changing what I write, what I have written. You make our religion all about you. They hardly remember the truth any longer. Subtle as always, you worm. Fuzz, Kelsier said. Could you just go? I need a sign, Fuzz whispered, stopping near Kelsier. Something he couldn't change. A sign of the weapon I'd buried. The boiling point of water, I think. Maybe it's freezing point. But what if the units change over the years? I need something that they immediately remember. Something they'll immediately recognize. He leaned in. 16. 16, Kelsier said. 16. Fuzz grinned. Clever, don't you think? Because it means the number of metals, Fuzz said, in Elemancy. There are 10. 11 if you count the one I discovered. No, that's stupid. 16. It's the perfect number. They'll see. They have to see. Fuzz started pacing, and his head returned mostly to its earlier state. Kelsier sat down at the rim of his prison. God's actions were far more erratic than they had been earlier. Had something changed, or, like a human with a mental disease, was God simply better at some times than he was at others? Fuzz looked up abruptly. He winced, turning his eyes toward the ceiling, as if it were going to collapse on him. He opened his mouth, jaw working but made no sound. What? He finally said. What have you done? Kelsier stood up in this prison. What have you done? Fuzz screamed. Kelsier smiled. Hope, he said softly. I have hoped. He was perfect, Fuzz said. He was the only one of you that... He spun suddenly, grazing down the shadowy room beyond Kelsier's prison. Someone stood at the other end. A tall, commanding figure, not made of light. Familiar clothing of both white and black contrasts with himself. The Lord Ruler. His spirit, at least. Kelsier stepped up onto the rim of the stone around the pool and waited as the Lord Ruler strode toward the light of the well. He stopped in place when he noticed Kelsier. I killed you, the Lord Ruler said. Twice. Yet you live. Yes, we're all aware of how strikingly incompetent you are. I'm glad you're beginning to see it for yourself. That's the first step toward change. The Lord Ruler sniffed and looked around at the chamber with its diaphanous walls. His eyes passed over Fuzz, but he didn't give the god much consideration. Kelsier exulted. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. How? What secret had he missed? That grin, the Lord Ruler said to Kelsier. Insufferable. I did kill you. I returned the favor. You didn't kill me, survivor. I forged the blade that did. Fuzz cleared his throat. It is my duty to be with you as you transition. Don't be worried, or be silent, the Lord Ruler said, inspecting Kelsier's prison. Do you know what you've done, survivor? I've won. You've brought ruin upon the world. You are a pawn, so proud, like a soldier on the battlefield, confident he controls his own destiny. while ignoring the thousands upon thousands in his rank. He shook his head. Only a year left. So close. I would have again ransomed this undeserving planet. This is just, Fuzz swallowed. This is an in-between step. After death and before something else, where souls must go. Where yours must go, Rashek. Rashek? Kelsier looked again at the Lord Ruler. You could not tell a terraceman by skin tone. That was a mistake many people had made. Some terraces were dark, others light. Still, he would have thought the room filled with furs. This man in the cold. Idiot. That was what it meant, of course. It was all a lie, Kelsier said. A trick. Your fabled immortality, your healing, Ferukemi. But how did you become a Nalamancer? The Lord Ruler stepped right up to the pillar of light that rose from the prison, and the two stared at one another, as they had on the square above when alive. Then the Lord Ruler stuck his hand into the light. Kelsier set his jaw and pictured sudden horrifying images of spending an eternity trapped with the man who had murdered Mare. The Lord Ruler pulled his hand out, however, trailing light like molasses. He turned his hand over, inspecting the glow, which eventually faded. So now what? Kelsier asked. You remain here? Here, the Lord Ruler laughed. With an impotent mouse and a half-blooded rat, please. He closed his eyes, then stretched toward that point and defied geometry. He faded, then finally vanished. Kelsier gaped. He left? To the somewhere else, Fuzz said, sitting down. I should not have been so hopeful. Everything passes. Nothing is eternal. That is what AD always claimed. He didn't have to leave, Kelsier said. He could have remained, could have survived. I told you, by this point, rational people want to move on. Fuzz vanished. Kelsier remained standing there at the edge of the prison, the glowing pool tossing his shadow across the floor. He stared into the misty room with its columns, waiting for something, though he wasn't certain what. Confirmation, celebration, a change of some sort. Nothing. Nobody came, not even the Inquisitors. How had the revolution gone? Were the Skan now rulers of society? He would have liked to see the deaths of the noble ranks treated in turn as they had treated their slaves. He received no confirmation, no sign of what was happening above. They didn't know about the well, obviously. All Kelsier could do was settle down and wait. Dang. Part 2 is called Well. I'm sure that's going to be when Vin kind of takes the power of the well, but doesn't really take the power of the well. Part 3 is Spirit. I'm going to take a bunch of guesses here. Part 3 is Spirit. I'm guessing that's when he will probably become the Mist Spirit. Maybe he's going to become Preservation. Part 4 is called Journey. I don't know what that would be. Part 5 is called Ire. Don't know what that would be. Part 6 is called Hero. When Vin becomes a hero of ages? I think that's it. Part 6. And then Epilogue. Interesting. I'm kind of into this book already. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun read. I don't know what to think about it, though. It's going to be like an afterlife journey. I think these are going to be fun chapters, so I'm excited to read this. Thanks for watching. I'm going to keep reading, unless I'll probably post this in a few minutes. And unless there's some comments telling me to live read another chapter, I'll probably just read it on my own and then maybe come up with a video after every part. Maybe just a quick one. I don't think these parts are going to be that in depth. Maybe it's just going to be this was cool, little revelations, maybe 10-minute videos or something like that. But that's probably where I'll go from here. But thanks for joining, or thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.